of the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they can believe in. I hold the lamp in the darkness, but they're the light that I needed to see the road that we walk in between the angels and demons. And my fans have my back. Hate us if your feelings don't like facts. And my fans will fight back. Beat you with the keyboard you've been using to write back. I guess we need each other like both sides of the battery. We the army, we the homies, we the gang, we the cavalry. We're brothers and sisters, we hold it down like we gravity. Can't nobody break the bond that made us all family.
Me and my fans, we don't care what anybody say. Middle fingers to whoever in the way, man. Me and my fans, we gon' be together to the grave. It's a game till forever and a day, man. Me and my fans, we don't even trip if they hate. We got all in our veins, man. Me and my fans,
We the hangover gang. Gang, 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 gang.
Oklahoma weather can dish out some of the worst punishment in the world. Hi everyone, I'm Meteorologist Tuttle. But now you can fight back by installing Class 4 impact-resistant shingles from Ferguson Roof Systems. These shingles can withstand large hail, heavy rain, and hurricane-force winds, all while keeping your home safe and dry. And the best part? This upgrade is completely free for many homeowners. So call today to start reaping the benefits these Class 4 shingles bring, including a discount on home insurance. Only at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey there, it's Friday night here in Oklahoma City. It is about 10 minutes after 9. Thanks for joining me. I'm Meteorologist Tuttle. We are back with you again 3 nights in a row after being kind of quiet for a while. You know, sometimes I get my senses about me and relax or calm down from a very busy springtime pattern. But we got a hurricane to talk about, and so that's what we've been doing the last few nights. We're going to do that again here for tonight, give you the latest on what is happening down along the Louisiana coastline. And again, we'll talk about Oklahoma's weather too as well, kind of give you up to date there too. Now, I just posted on the Facebook wall a link you can click on. So in the comment section, you'll see it floating down by you. So take a look at that. If you want to be notified by me directly through your Facebook Instant Messenger, you can click on that link and I'll let you know when I go live. Now, if you're not having trouble getting notified when I go live through Facebook, then you don't need to do that. But if you've been missing some of these broadcasts or they come in late after I'm already over, Facebook is having a problem obviously with you, so this is a workaround for that. Only difference is when you do go live, there'll be a second 2-part question. So the one is yes, watch the live broadcast now. The second one says manage messages. You have to go back in and manage messages so that you can sign up for the next time I go live. So in other words, you have to keep kind of re-upping the button, so to speak, but that's the only workaround that'll work to get around Facebook's AI problem of failing to notify you when I do put out there some weather content. So there you go. All right, guys on YouTube, never seem to have a problem getting notified when I go live there, so welcome. I see you, Jim from Mustang. And of course, Twitter, Periscope is working as well. So many ways you can watch me here live. All right. With all that business said and done, let's get into the meat and potatoes of all this stuff. First off, if you haven't been paying attention, we do have a hurricane down along the Caribbean. It is called Ida, and Ida will be making its way toward Louisiana by this weekend. So this is what it looks like right now. So the National Hurricane Center has been putting out advisories and sounding the alarms now for a couple of days. And kind of getting more intense here. Here's a look at the cloud mass associated with it. So this was a tropical depression, 24 hours ago, and became a hurricane, Category 1 hurricane today. It's now moving off the coastline of Cuba here, and then will eventually kind of work its way up to the north-northwest and strengthen with time. So that's why we're going to focus on this particular storm. It's not rare that we get hurricanes. It's actually quite common in tropical storms this time of the year down there. So the question is, is it going to hit the U.S. mainland? And then if it's going to be a big one or a small one. Small ones are no big deal. It's the ones that are going to become a major, which is Category 3 or higher, that obviously are a big deal. All right, well, here's a look at sea surface temperatures out here. These are the Celsius mindset. So it's about 30 degrees, which is plenty warm water temperatures for development of hurricanes into a stronger category. And some of the water even gets a little bit warmer as you make its way in closer to the coastline. So there's a potential for increase in intensity up until the point where it arrives. Now, if we look at some of the model blended data out there, the spread continues to shrink in with time. So shrinking, continues to shrink with time. There we go. It's now continuing kind of the eastern sides of Louisiana and the west sides of Louisiana. When you watched the last couple of nights, it was all the way out here, and there's probably some outliers out here. So as we get closer in, the spread of the different model ensemble runs continue to kind of hone in on one kind of track, and that's this little black line here in the middle. Here's a look at various other models out there, from global models to hurricane models to just standard stuff. And those also are kind of honing on into the south central to southeastern coastline of Louisiana. Now, by this time tomorrow, they'll know exactly, pretty much the town within about a 5-mile range of where it's going to make landfall. But remember, it's not a single point. It's not like a tornado. It is a very large system, so it doesn't really matter so much as the exact placement of the eye wall, other than the fact it's the impact that you're going to see. The European model has also done the same thing of kind of getting a more narrow look to its ensemble runs. So as you can see, this kind of focused right here across the southeastern half of Louisiana for the most of the blend. And if you were to take the middle of the road approach, it's probably just west of New Orleans, but just east of central Louisiana. And that may not be the final track. It may not adjust too much from there. Now, the intensity on the hurricane has bumped up to Category 4. So we talked about this last night, the night before, how that was on the table. A strong Category 3, weak Category 4 hurricane. That has not changed. That's still in the forecast here. Could it potentially get to Category 5? Sure. A lot of times there's a knee-jerk reaction with the model data. They kind of wait to see how things go before they really amp it up. So the particular hurricane model we're going to show you here shows the system off the coastline here of Louisiana by Sunday morning with winds up around 122 knots. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. It does have the winds weaken slightly during the afternoon rather than intensify, but only by a couple of knots here. There's Sunday afternoon around 3 o'clock. So it's already got the effects of the hurricane hitting shore. Just the eye wall itself, it kind of clips a little bit there by 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. So it's going to be a late Sunday afternoon effect as far as the main bands that come in that produce tornadoes and flash flooding, all that kind of stuff, and the wind, hurricane force winds, and the eye wall itself will be moving into and along the coastline Sunday evening, and then quickly moving on in northward through central Louisiana, producing again tornadoes and flash flooding, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be a big storm, very powerful, very potent. So let's get a little more detail on that. So this is the National Hurricane Center. So again, they have M for major hurricane, and then they have tropical storm, and you can just see it moves through eastern parts of Arkansas and into Tennessee before it kind of dwindles down to a depression. We'll show you that on the main maps here in just a minute. Rainfall amounts, obviously quite significant. So we're looking at over a foot of rain in many areas here in the southeastern half of Louisiana. So New Orleans, about a foot of rain. So the levees, I'm on Twitter, I'm looking at some of the reports coming out now from New Orleans. It is grim. I think they have 3 pumps that aren't working already. And they've already said it's too late to evacuate as far as, putting all the traffic in one direction. So it is a total free-for-all, every man, woman, and child for themselves down there, which is unfortunate. You really can't depend on government to save you. You're just going to have to save yourself when you see these kind of things unfold. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to pay attention this time of the year. And then take the data like me or other meteorologists give you, and then make your decision. Don't wait for government to make it for you, because, like case in point, the time they decided to make the decision is too late, according to them. So I say it's never too late to get out of harm's way. But regardless, here's a look at the Saffir-Simpson scale. So we talked about a Category 3 to 4 hurricane. Those are winds up to around 112, 136 knots. So this will be the sweet spot of where this hurricane will be after about 24 hours from now. And then we'll see if it bumps briefly into Category 5. It doesn't need to be a Category 5 to cause catastrophic damage. Matter of fact, here is a look at what a Category 4 and 5 will do. There's not a lot of difference. It's kind of like an EF4 to EF5 tornado. There's not a whole lot of difference there. The damage is done when you get to a 4, winds around 130 to 156 miles per hour, so not on the knots, but on the miles per hour scale. Well-built framed homes can sustain severe damage with loss of most of the roofs and exterior walls. Most trees will be snapped or uprooted, power poles down. Power outages will last weeks to months. Most of the area will be uninhabitable for weeks or months. Of course, people in Louisiana are well familiar with this. pretty much anywhere along the coast, you sometimes see these big storms move in. Now, if it does get to Category 5, it's 157 or higher, a high percentage of framed homes will be destroyed, falling trees and power poles with isolated residential areas. Power outages will last for weeks to months, with most of the area uninhabitable for weeks or months. So, again, like I said, not a whole lot of difference between a 4 and a 5. You know, when a home gets as badly damaged as it can be on a 4, it's almost like a 5. It's like pointless. You got to start over. But that's the way it is as far as hurricane damage is concerned when you get into that level. Obviously, if it gets down to a 3, it's still considered a major, but at least it's not as intense on that. Now, we do have another hurricane, believe it or not. This is Nora out here. That'll be making its way across the western sides of Mexico. So it's an active system. It's not a hurricane, it's a tropical storm, but it will be making its way as a hurricane into this little canal. So for southern Baja, and then the rest of it, remnants, will make its way into the desert southwest, fall apart, of course, across Arizona, providing you guys a lot of rain out there. And then eventually what's left of that in the moisture field will get picked up across Colorado and across the Central Plains. Now, so that is one hurricane there. This one, of course, we're focused on is Ida, and this is moving to the northwest at 12, about 15 miles per hour right now, winds of 81 miles per hour. So if we zoom into this, official strength of Category 2 and then 3 from the National Hurricane Center, and these little circles are the wind radius of that. So we get into the landmass area. Right now they've officially coming on shore as a Category 2. Again, that can change. It can stay a 3, can even stay a 4. The water's very warm, shear's very weak aloft. Anything can happen, so you just kind of play it safe and assume, unfortunately, the worst case scenario, then hope for the best case scenario. That's really what you have to do with hurricanes when it's in this type of situation. The line here, flashing line, is kind of the central point of the location track of where the storm will reside. So you can see on the map here, I've zoomed in, it's around Huma. So that's probably where the storm will come on shore. There is still a little wiggle room of about, who knows, 50 miles at this point, west or east. Right now that puts the track west of New Orleans. For New Orleans, worst case scenario, probably about where it is when it comes to rainfall. It moves a little bit more to the east, just a hair. It make the danger goes up a little higher as far as rainfall totals go. And then some flooding and stuff from the sea walls, everything. The water has to get pushed in from the east side. So again, anytime you get a storm that kind of is in this area for landfall, that's really where New Orleans just takes it on the chin as far as the worst case deal. If it's out here in southwestern Louisiana, it's not as much of a deal. You have a lot less impact to the New Orleans area, and of course it's more centered, focused in the southwestern parts of the state, like there was last year with 2 storms back to back that kind of was in the west central western part of the state. All right, so that was a close-up look at that. By the way, these numbers are the water temperatures right now in degrees Fahrenheit. So they're in the mid to upper 80s. Down here, I saw a 90 show up earlier. It disappeared. These are from buoys and ships. They just measure the water temperature as they travel along. So plenty warm for that development down there. And then, I believe, let's turn this off and see if I've got this loaded. What was it? I think, yeah, it was. I showed it to you in the other graphic, which was the predicted rainfall. Okay, just want to make sure. I got so many graphics, sometimes I lose track of what I was going to show you. All right, so let's go back in now to the big picture, and we're going to show you how things evolve. So here is a look at the nation. All right, so this is the jet stream pattern. This is kind of what guides these storms, by the way. So we have a ridge of high pressure here. We've got one here. We've got our little disturbance here. I say upper disturbance, but I should say the area of interest. So let me use this different one. This guy here, area of interest. So that's our little hurricane. So what happens is you get a weakness. Air flows clockwise around a high. So that's kind of guiding it into this northwesterly direction. Okay. And then you also have air that flows clockwise around this high. All right. So what happens is you get kind of a weakness in between, a gap. And these storms will get pulled into that little gap, a little mini area of kind of lower heights or lower pressure between the two. So that's kind of how these things get guided on into where they're going, and that's no different from this one. Now we go through time. You can see it comes on shore for Sunday afternoon and evening. And then if you look here on Monday, let's see, it comes through Louisiana. Tuesday, it's moving on up toward Tennessee. And this is Tuesday the 31st. And then by the time we head to the 1st, which is Wednesday of next week, this is what happens with our weather. We get, the high kind of gets shoved down here to the southeast, but we get our heat dome that redevelops back over top of us. I've talked about this the last couple of nights, that when this thing departs, it leaves behind a gap to fill, and usually this high will move in and take its place, which is what's going to happen. So why is that important for us? Well, it just means we may hit 100 degrees officially in Oklahoma City. We just may. It'll be a close call. Here's the other system, by the way. Keep an eye on that and see what happens with that one as we head into time. So let's go to Thursday. That heat dome's right on top of Oklahoma, so it'll be our hottest of the hot. That little system out here is falling apart, a little area of low pressure associated with it. This is by Friday of next week. We still have this stupid thing sitting on top of this. This is based off the European model, by the way. And then the remnants of the hurricane is now over here on the eastern coastline. All right, so now let's see what happens after that. I'm going to push this forward in time. Leave those on the map for a second. So here's Saturday. So that little low, let's go ahead and delete these. What's left of it went from Colorado up here across the Central Plains now to Iowa, the Northern Plains. That'll be your rainmaker for those guys. Our ridge starts to finally kind of break down a little bit and reposition back here to the west. So even though we get hot next week, it's not going to last for too long, and it'll go back to the west because this energy up here at the top will come down and help to crush the ridge a little bit more and allow us to cool down some. All right, then the remnants of that other tropical storm, or the other hurricane that was out here across the coastline, there's still some energy associated with it. We'll see if anything tries to redevelop from it. Right now the models are saying no, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. It's a long ways out there. Sometimes they can redevelop it back over the water if the pattern is beneficial for that. What we do see, though, by the time we head into Monday the 6th of September, the ridge is way out to the west, which is good news for us. What that does is puts us in a northwest flow. Now, northwest flow brings in some decent cold fronts and sometimes some storms. So our pattern is going to change again, more favorable for a little bit more rain and some cooler weather as we head into past the first few days of September. So again, we may pay for a little bit with the heat, but overall it looks a little bit better. So if you take a model blend of this approach, we do heat up into the mid-90s here on Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. Of course, the cool down for this weekend is going to be great. Hope you enjoy the 5 to 10 degree difference. You know, it was actually not as bad today as it was last couple days. But like I said, we have to crank up because of the ridge here in the middle of next week, and then a slow drop off as that ridge starts to retrograde back to the west. Now, this is a conservative number because given the pattern, again, if we believe the European as is, we'll for 90s to near 100 during this same stretch, better part of the week for that ridge to back out and then us to cool back down. So this actually extends the heat into Saturday the 4th. And then we get a cold front in here because the ridge is finally backed off and the front comes in and we cool things back down to more pleasant weather. So just keep in mind this is probably what's going to happen with us later on in the period. All right, so that was all I had for you when it comes to the hurricane and our local weather. Let me just peruse a couple of questions, see if you guys had anything. By the way, again, if you're on Facebook and you're not getting notified that I go live on time, say for example, if Facebook just now told you, well, then you got a problem. So to fix that, you have to join in to my, I'll call it the Team AT bot. And what it'll do is it'll get you hooked up to where you can get a live notification from me directly. So I'm going to post that again in the comments section, so you can just click on that link and it should be able to take you to the part to fill out. All right, let's see here. Karen, I see you on the group page. Thanks for joining, logging in. Sorry about the trouble the other night. So we had some technical difficulties that we worked out. Same thing with YouTube. Last night there was a problem there, but I got that fixed for tonight. So all platforms are good, knock on wood. Let's do a little bit of this. All right, and of course, you guys on Twitter, it's a little bit different interface there. Twitter's just a different beast. You used to be able to kind of leave comments on the fly, and Periscope would pull them in, but they've kind of restructured that, so it's harder to interact on Twitter in live time than it is on Facebook and YouTube. It's just not set up well, and I'm sure they're going to continue to tweak things. A lot of these platforms are pretty much copycats now of one another, just slightly different functionalities. So Brad asked if I use Allison for my data feeds for radar, and I do not at this time. I have been contemplating on doing it, but for right now, I have everything that I need at this point in time without that service, because I just pull in from all kinds of places, and I get usually what I need that way. Let's see here. Let me pull in my live here on my phone. Hang on a second. Okay, that way I can see some more comments, because on the main page it cuts them off for some reason, and it may do that here on the phone too. We'll see, because Facebook's always changing stuff also. Always. It's so irritating. All right, Don, I'm in Texas for a while, south of Dallas. We are melting. Yeah, y'all need some rain down there, that's for sure. Jordan's in the house again. Good to see you. Yeah, I can only see like the last 4 comments, which does me no good, Facebook. That's terrible. So if you had something you wanted to ask me, it got lost. So that's the way it goes. All right, so let's see. That's about it for me. I'll probably do the live tomorrow just to kind of see how things are going with the hurricane. I find those very interesting and worthwhile to talk about and cover, even though it may not directly affect Oklahoma in the way that we might like it, for example, in the form of rainfall. Now, we've had that happen many a time, but this one is not going to be one of those. All right. So listen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in and joining. Thanks for the stars, by the way. Lorielli, I see you, so appreciate that. And we'll do this again later. All right, guys, have a great rest of your Friday night and a great weekend. We'll talk soon. Take care.